Why is California burning? Let's take a look at the science behind wildfires.
In the western United States, I believe something like 5 or 6 states within the last 10 years have had the largest wildfires they've ever had on record. Fires which exceed any of the kind of previous experience we've had with the size, intensity, ferocity of fires up until this last decade or so. What's going on in the background of all of this is you have climate change, which is constantly pushing the conditions to be drier, the fuels to be drier, the weather to be more extreme.
Well, you can feel the heat.
As you just saw, we are currently experiencing the most destructive wildfires in California's history. Nearly 5 million acres have already burned in 2020, smashing the previous 864,000 burned in 2018. What is happening? First, it's important to remember that wildfire is a natural part of our ecosystem. Fires contribute to a healthy cycle of renewal. They burn dead wood and other flammable debris, keeping it from building up on the forest floor. A couple hundred years ago, Native Americans in California recognized the need for fire and often ignited fires to clear underbrush and to promote healthy vegetation. But once we began building homes in towns in hilly forested areas, it became common practice to suppress wildfires to protect homes and property. We did such a good job that our forests are very overgrown, creating lots of fuel to burn. Homes and other man-made structures add to this fuel and raise the stakes of destruction. A second major cause of increased wildfire is climate change. As the climate changes our planet, wildfire conditions are getting worse over time. The average yearly temperature is higher and climbing. Changing climate also affects weather patterns. We are experiencing longer periods of drought, and this is making for a lot of dry fuel to burn. When we have more strong, windy days, all we need is a spark, and wildfire can start. To understand how wildfires behave, it's important to know the chemistry of fire. It all begins with combustion. Combustion is a chemical process between fuel and oxygen. 3 elements must be present for fire to occur: heat, oxygen, and fuel. At this point, it's good to keep in mind the law of conservation of mass, that the amount of mass is always the same. So, for example, when a tree burns, of course, the wood that makes it up is different, but its mass is still there, either in the form of ash or smoke. No mass is created or destroyed. Every day in the news, we hear more superlatives about the fires burning up and down the coast. They are described as large and destructive. These would be examples of qualitative descriptions that are often based on observation. They describe characteristics of the events without giving specific data that can be used for objective comparison. On the other hand, CAL FIRE and other tracking services continually update us with quantitative figures, such as the amount of acreage burned, the number of structures destroyed, and lives lost. These tragic figures provide quantitative data that can be used to track and compare trends in information across time and events. Understanding wildfire, its causes, behavior, and effects help us mitigate risk and prepare for emergencies.